Let's talk about bouncing back after a baby. Is this realistic? Is it even something that we should aspire to? Well, welcome to the channel. I am Koereyelle. Today, I am 6 weeks postpartum, literally today, so pray for me. My husband will probably be chasing me around town once he realizes that today is the day. But I personally do not subscribe to the bouncing back after having a baby theory. Now, if you watched yesterday, which was day one of my 30 days of live streaming, you know that I talked about the fact that motherhood initially made me miserable. Now, I want to absolutely give the disclaimer that I am not miserable currently, today in 2025. But way back in 2020, when I found out I was pregnant, in 2021, when I had my baby, I absolutely felt like I was drowning. I felt like I was just sinking in this new role, in this new responsibility as a mother, one that I really thought that I was prepared for. It was definitely something that I prayed for, but not necessarily something that I was prepared for. And honestly, now that I am 3 babies in, I don't know that it's something that you can truly be prepared for, but you can at least have some expectations, some realistic expectations. And that is the whole point and purpose of this conversation series, where we are talking about all things mindset, motherhood, and of course, money. Because, baby, if your money is looking funny, it's probably going to be hard to be a happy mother. One of the things that I have realized, even in thinking about my own mother, my own, childhood, is the fact that when you are not happy with yourself, when you are not happy with your own life, it's very hard to put on a front, to put on a happy face, and be the happy, healthy, whole mother that your children desire and really deserve. So, as we talk about misery in motherhood, I think it really comes down to your mindset, to your mentality, which we talked about yesterday, because it was me. I set myself up for failure to be miserable because I truly had convinced myself that I was just going to get to the finish line, have the baby, and then I'm going to go back to living my happy life. And that was not the case. So go back and watch that video from yesterday where I talked about being miserable in motherhood. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you can relate. But today I want to talk about bouncing back. And when I say bouncing back, I don't necessarily mean snatching back, because snatching back is more so your body, which we will get into that conversation. But when I say bouncing back, I mean getting back to yourself. And so I want to talk about my take on bouncing back, because I think mainstream media and social media's take on bouncing back is you have your baby on a Tuesday and by Friday you are back to your old self. Right? You're feeling like yourself. And that is usually not the case. Now, we're talking about mental health, but when you start throwing in the potential traumas of your physical health, right? Because we all know that whether you have a baby by C-section or whether you have a vaginal delivery, the recovery time, the trauma that your body goes through, it can be, it can take some time for your body to recover. And so I'm just talking about mentally bouncing back. So 4 ways, I got 4 tips, 4 things that I personally did with my second baby, and even now with my third baby, that I feel like would have been helpful with my first baby. And so share this video, make sure you subscribe. I want to create a community of other Black millennial moms who have felt like they were miserable, who have felt like they were struggling, who have felt like they didn't have the village that they needed. But I also need for pre-moms to see this content and get into this conversation, because if I would have known then, when I was a pre-mom, what I know now as I'm 6 weeks postpartum, I think I could have eased into motherhood with a little more grace instead of like falling through the dough of motherhood, like falling flat on my face. So, four things that I've personally done that have helped me bounce back. And hopefully, if you are in postpartum or if you are a pre mom or if you know a pre mom, this will be helpful for you. Now, if you are just tuning in, it's only day 2 of the 30-day live. So, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. And you can also come hang out with me on Instagram. It is one of my favorite places to play. All right. So, the first thing that I think is super important when we talk about bouncing back is actually to forget bouncing back, because that's an unrealistic expectation. And again, we talked about this yesterday, that there's no going back. There's no going back. So I want you to forget bouncing back and instead focus on becoming. Focus on moving forward. Who are you being called to become in this new season? You, as a mother, is a totally different experience, expectation, and responsibility than you as a single woman or you as a childless woman. So focus on what this new role and what these new responsibilities require, instead of being so consumed by your old life, instead of trying so hard to fit back into those shoes that you once wore. Really focus on these new shoes that you are required to wear. Your children absolutely deserve the best version of you, but you deserve the best version of you too. So I hear people say all the time, like, I'll die for mine. I'm willing to die for my kids. Like I'm a big stepper when it comes to my kids. You're willing to die for your kids, but are you willing to live for them? Are you willing to live your best possible life, your healthiest and happiest experience, so that your kids can get that version of you? I'm speaking from experience when I talk about the fact that it was evident in my childhood that, I won't say motherhood was making my mother miserable, but just life. Okay, marriage was actually probably making my mother miserable. But whatever it is that might be playing into your misery, if you do not get control of that thing, then it's going to make you miserable, and you're going to turn around and give your children a miserable experience. Okay, and then they're going to be sitting up in the therapist's office 30 years from now talking about their childhood issues. So, in order to avoid that, it's super important that we don't focus on bouncing back, getting back to ourselves, but instead we focus on moving forward, and we spend our energy and time figuring out who this new version of you needs to be. So that's number one. Forget bouncing back. Focus on becoming the next version, the new version for this new season that you're in. Number two, you got to manage your milestones. So, all of my mamas out there, if you're watching this and you already have babies, you know that babies' lives are documented by milestones, right? At 4 weeks, they should be doing this thing. At 3 months, they should start doing this. At 6 months, they should be able to do this. By 9 months, they should be doing this thing. Everything is milestones within that first year of life. But we as mothers, we don't give ourselves milestones to track, to make sure that we are on pace for whatever our goals are. So, as a new mom, and when I say new mom, I don't mean first time mom. Okay. I just mean new mom. You had a new baby. You are now a new mom all over again. You are experiencing the newness of this new baby. As a new mom, I think that it's super important for you to give yourself something to focus on personally, because most of the time during postpartum, all of our focus is on our baby, and everybody's focus is on the baby. Nobody's worried about you anymore. People aren't calling to check on you. You get that one little raggedy 6-week checkup appointment, but your baby literally gets an appointment to go see the doctor like every 2 weeks. Every month they're seeing that baby. All of the energy and the attention is on the child, and not enough is on the mom. And so you can absolutely get lost in the sauce of just making sure your baby is good, and then you feel like you have let yourself go. I've seen so many women talk about the fact that they look up, their child is now 3 years old. They still have not lost the baby weight, if that was one of their goals. They haven't lost the baby weight. Their career is now stagnant. Their business is no longer making money. Their marriage has become miserable. They feel like they're personally unfulfilled because they have let life slip by them. Their focus, their energy, their attention, all of their effort has been going to keeping this baby alive, which of course that's your number one priority, keeping that baby alive. But are you keeping yourself alive, or are you just existing? I want to challenge you and encourage you and hopefully inspire you to create a life that you love. Because when you are busy loving your life, the way that you engage with your child will change. It will absolutely change. So, what are some of your personal goals? Right? We can think of all this laundry list of things we want our children to be able to do, but what do you want to be able to do? So, number 2, when we're talking about bouncing back after a baby, manage your milestones. What are your milestones going to be? At 3 months postpartum, I want to be doing XYZ. At 6 months, this is where I want to be. By 1 year, these are my goals. So that as your baby is meeting their milestones, you can be tracking your milestones as well. There is something orgasmic about reaching your goals, about staying committed, about keeping your word to yourself. And so if you can focus your energy and attention on staying in alignment with your goals, with the life that you see for yourself, then you have something positive to focus on, and you don't really have time to get caught up in the negativity, that day-to-day life can bring. So we're talking about bouncing back after baby. Number 1, forget the bounce back. Okay, forget the bounce back. Focus on becoming the next new version of yourself. Number 2, manage your milestones. Create some goals for yourself. Think about some things that you actually want to accomplish and then give it a timeline. Put some dates on it. Number 3, you have to find an outlet. When we talk about the village, not villaging, a big part of it is just being a safe space, just being a shoulder to cry on, a shoulder to vent to when you are going through, the craziness that comes with motherhood. It's super important that you have a community or a notebook, okay? Because all of us don't have lifelong friendships. All of us don't have relationships with our sisters and our mothers and our aunts where we have a safe space to just call and vent to. Some of us don't have necessarily the friendships that we desire to have, or we have surface level friendships. We don't have deep friendships to be able to call and just dump all of your anxiety or your fears or your unhappiness onto. And so even if it's a paid outlet like a therapist, okay, you can do telehealth. The good thing about COVID is that everything is available online and by telephone now. So there's options out there. You don't have to go sit in somebody's office and lay down on their couch, because as a new mom, how do you have time to do that? Who's gonna keep your baby? There's so many obstacles and challenges that come with having children that a lot of times we will sacrifice ourselves because we don't have childcare, or we'll sacrifice ourselves because we got to maintain this schedule for the baby. But your mental health is not something that can be sacrificed. So you have to find an outlet. Yesterday, I told y'all about like me being in the closet, crying on the closet floor to myself because I didn't have an outlet. Not only did I not have an outlet, I'm of the mindset that I don't need to share all my problems with people. Like, what are you going to do anyway? What are you going to do anyway? I don't need to tell you all my business. I don't need to dump all my issues on you. I don't need to cry about it. I need to figure it out. And if I am going to cry about it, I'm not going to cry to you. I'm going to cry to myself. And so that is where I found myself crying on the closet floor. That does not have to be your reality. It feels good even to write it down, because the thing is, the feelings, that energy, it has to go somewhere. So when you're suppressing it, that turns into illness. All right. That turns into chronic illnesses. The rate at which Black women are being diagnosed with these chronic illnesses is ridiculous. And the research is literally showing us that we are being affected and impacted in these ways because we're holding on to all of our ish. We are balling up that anger, balling up that negative emotions because y'all, just like me, felt like I don't want to cry to nobody. I don't want to appear weak. I don't want anybody in my business. I don't want to tell nobody my problems. That energy, that it goes somewhere. So if you are not letting it out, whether you are writing it down, recording a voice note, for me, my podcast is super therapeutic. Just getting it out, getting my thoughts out, having those conversations, saying the quiet part out loud. That's what they say, right? You got to say the quiet part out loud. You got to hear yourself say it sometimes. If you don't get it out, you can absolutely make yourself sick. And ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. So you should absolutely find an outlet, find a safe space, even if you have to pay for it. Okay. And a lot of times, this is something that I didn't realize. My health insurance covers therapy. I just had to call. I had to make one extra phone call to get a mental health referral. And now I can get therapy sessions for $10. Sometimes you have not because you ask not. We just assume that we don't have the money, we don't have the time, we're not ready for this thing. But once you ask, the answer might be yes. I mean, the worst thing is that the answer is no, and you already thought it was no anyway. So you might as well ask. So find an outlet. Last but not least, you have to find a way to free yourself. Freedom is the name of the game. Okay. Freedom is going to be the word of the year for 2026, because when I really peel back the layers and I think about what was making me so miserable when I first became a mother, it was really the fact that I had lost my freedom. It was the fact that I was so used to being able to get up and go and decide what my day is going to look like and do what I wanted to do. I mean, when I had my first son, that was 2021. I had not had a full-time job since 2011. So for 10 years, an entire decade, I was used to doing what I wanted to do, make my own schedule, move how I wanted to move, travel when I wanted to travel. I was just used to doing what I wanted to do. And so feeling my freedom slip away from me absolutely made me miserable. And so what I used to do is I would literally keep a camping blanket, like an outside blanket, in the trunk of my car. And anytime I felt like I just needed to free myself, like it's just too much, I got to get out of here, I would take that blanket and go sit in the park. I would literally drive my car downtown. If you're in Atlanta, I would go to Piedmont Park, pull my blanket out, and I would just sit in the grass and I would just listen to the birds and I would just watch the people go by, and I would just give myself quiet time to be with myself, to hear my own thoughts, to think about myself, to not have to worry about anybody else. So you have to find, even if it's just a pocket of time, to free yourself. I know the word on the curb is you need to sleep when the baby sleeps, but sometimes that's your only opportunity for peace and quiet. That's your only time to hear yourself think. That's your only time to have just 5 minutes for yourself. Because we know those little newborn naps could be 5 minutes or they could be 50 minutes. So, whatever pockets of time you can possibly find, you deserve it. And if you do not focus on your freedom, you are going to feel like a prisoner. You are going to feel like motherhood has imprisoned you. And so these are four things that I wish somebody would have told me when I had my first baby, when I was so focused on bouncing back. So if you know someone who is about to have a baby, pregnant with a baby, thinking about having a baby, just want to have a baby in the next 5 years, please share this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm going live every day for 30 days. The entire month of December, I will be live. There's no rhyme or reason to the time I'm going live, though. Okay. And if you are a mom, you already understand why, because these kids could require anything at any time of the day. And I'm on their schedule, I'm on their time, which again, why it's important to make sure you find some freedom in your day at some point. So subscribe to the channel so that you'll be notified when I am live. Share this video with a friend, and I'll see you tomorrow.